know that the human brain has the capacity to learn, to unlearn, and also relearn? Now, as a parent, this is such a resource that when the Lord gives us an opportunity to raise a child, we can take them through the learning process. We can help them unlearn those behaviors that we feel are inappropriate. But guess what? We also have a chance to help them relearn the correct behavior. Now, you may ask me, how exactly what does that mean? And this is what it means. Again, the very word we have used over and over again, that you have to be a deliberate and intentional parent. That once you've helped your child learn, as we learned in our first episode, once you have helped your child unlearn, as we learned in our second episode, then you have to be very deliberate in helping your child relearn. Now, this may not be as easy, but consistently doing it, the child is able to relearn a new behavior. That is why we are introducing the third technique, which is helping our children relearn. And that is why I want you to look at an extract of a sermon that I gave in ECK, St. Peter's Kahawa Sukari. So the first one was help my child learn, the second one was help my child unlearn, and the third one I want to propose to us. Then, after we have helped them learn and learn, then we must help them relearn. And when we talk about to relearn, it is where we have been able to correct that wrong information that was given to the children and replace it with the correct information. And you can imagine if this is going to happen. I'm sure you're probably asking yourself the same questions that I would be asking myself. A holistic child that is physically right. Meaning I'm there asking myself, how do I teach my child to be physically correct, to be physically right, to be able to grow, to be able to grow physically? But how do I also help them unlearn in some of the things that they have been taught about the physical development? And how do I help them relearn? And I'm thinking the same about emotional. I'm thinking about the same about social, spiritual, and intellectually. And probably as you sit there, you're asking yourself the same question that I could be asking myself as a mother. Isn't this overwhelming? Isn't this too much for me as a mother? And I want to propose to us, yes, I hear you, it is very, very, very broad. But the easiest way is to integrate this in our daily activities. That our teaching our children, our helping our children unlearn, our helping our children relearn, is not just a checking of the box, ticking the box. Did I help them learn? Did I help them unlearn? That it is not just ticking the box, but it is in our ordinary lifestyle. And probably you may want to ask me, Faith, does this really work? Does this really work? How do I integrate this in my daily lifestyle? Does it work? And I want to answer this question, whether it works, through a short story as I come to a conclusion. And the short story that I want to bring to you is a story that you can be able to read from a book that is titled Redefining Truth by David Fiorazo. And he has written the story of Richard Nixon. Richard Nixon was the 37th president of the US. You may remember him for different reasons. Probably you will remember him as the only president to resign. But there's the other side of the coin. And if you want to understand the other side of the coin about Richard Nixon, then you might have to go to the nation of Israel and realize that the nation of Israel cannot celebrate their holiest day in the calendar, which is the Yom Kippur Day, without thinking about Richard Nixon. Why? Because of the role he played in saving the nation of Israel on October 6, 1973, when Israel was attacked by 7 nations and they were in the verge of extinction. And at that point, there is no way they were going to survive. And one morning at 3 a.m., the then Prime Minister of Israel, a lady called Golda Meir, called Richard Nixon asking for help. And interesting enough, it was at a time when Richard Nixon was going through very, very tough times. And as she asked for help, the response was a rapid response. And after the war, Richard Nixon was asked, why did you respond so fast to Golda Meir when she gave you that 3 a.m. call? And this is what Richard Nixon said. I did not hear Golda Meir. I heard the voice of my mother. Now you might wonder, why is it that Richard Nixon heard the voice of his mother? The mother to Richard Nixon was Hannah Nixon, a Quaker mother, like the way you'd say an Anglican mother. She belonged to the Quaker Fellowship, and she was a Quaker mother. And in her ordinary activities of raising her children, especially little Richard, she was very deliberate. She looked at Richard in the eyes and said, Richard, one day you will be a great man in this nation. As she cleaned the little Nixon, she would remind him, Richard, one day you'll be a great man in this nation. As she served a cup of tea, she said, Richard, you're going to be a great man in this nation. When you finally become a great man in this nation, do not forget the nation of Israel. And therefore, when that 3 a.m. call came, then Richard Nixon could not hear of Golda Meir, had that ordinary conversation that happened in the bathroom, that happened in the sitting room, that happened in the compound as they did the daily chores. And at that time, Richard Nixon was able to respond in such a rapid manner. What Hannah Nixon did not know is that in that little activity, she was not only raising her own child, but she was raising the president of the US, and so to say, the savior of the nation of Israel, who in 1973 was going to come in handy, who was going to become a tool in the hands of the Lord in delivering the nation of Israel. And so this morning, I want to encourage us all moms that we cannot give up in carrying out our daily chores. We cannot trivialize our daily chores as so small. We cannot look at the chores that we carry out and look at them with the attitude of humanly, meaning a demeaning chore. But we must link these daily activities with our children's mandate. We must understand that the little chores we are carrying out, raising that child that the Lord has brought our way, we are not only raising our own children, but the church is looking at you raising a man and a woman that is going to occupy these empty pews we see today. The nation, the community where you live, the community of Kahawa Sukari and where you live, is looking at you raising a responsible citizen. The nation of Kenya is looking at you as raising that young man, that young girl who is going to change the narrative of this nation. And who knows, in Kenya we have a history of our people going out of this nation and becoming great men and women. Who knows that in my little chores of cleaning my baby, in my little chores of supervising homework, in my little chores of supervising the children playing football, in my little chores of preparing breakfast with them, that I'm raising a global leader. Moms, the world is dependent on our daily engagements. Let us do our daily engagements with such level of prudence that we will never regret having raised our children. And therefore, my clarion call to all of us, especially as moms this morning, is let us just do it, and let us do it right.
Thank you so much for working with us, and we want to ask ourselves the question, is it doable? Has anyone been able to do that? So thank you. We see you again on Saturday.